I'm Christian Adlita. I am a video production and computer programmer mixed into one. My major is computer science for University of the People, which is an online program, so I can do it remotely, I can do it from home, and that sort of thing. And that's my main college, my primary one. And then I'm also going to Collin, and I'm doing a video production associate's degree out of Collin. So I'm doing a bachelor's in computer programming and then a associate's in video production. I started off programming probably when I was like 7 to 8 years old. My dad has been programming for like 25 to like 27, somewhere around there. He had been teaching me a little bit of what he knows, mostly like using the simple programming when I was like a kid called Scratch, which was like uses basically these building blocks like Legos almost for programming, like simple statements you can plug into one another, like an if statement, which just basically says if something, like if this character is red, this ball is red, then do something else, like play a noise, right? So it's like that's at the very fundamental level of what programming is. It's like giving simple instructions to tell computers what to do. But when I was a kid, that's not really what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do YouTube, funny enough. So I started teaching myself video production and doing videos. Like I was on that grind, you know, that 14-year-old kid doing like 3 videos a week. And one of them really took off, the rest of them really didn't, but that's really what I wanted to do. So my dad was teaching me programming and he's like, this is like one of the things that like, I don't have much else that I could teach you, but I can teach you how to program. And I was like, okay, cool, we'll do this. So that's what really got me into programming. It's the projects that I work on. I used to work on a Windows-based form, which was just a graphical user interface that worked only in Windows. Which means that I ran into this problem that I couldn't use the programs that I was building on my phone, on my laptop, and data would not sync between them. And so I had set my standards higher and I basically said, hey, I want to start learning web development. I started learning web development under a year, a little bit over a year ago at this point, like October of last year. So the programs that I started building, which were originally on Windows only, was a simple visual timer. So you set like a 5 or 10 minute timer and a bar will slowly move across the top of your screen so you can actually see visually how much time you have left, because that to me is just more interesting. That I built a small timer. I have this really bad habit of staying up super late, playing video games, watching shows, YouTube, Reddit, whatever. And so I needed a way to lock myself out of my computer safely, because if you have something like a vacation timer to plug into your wall, plug in your computer, the vacation timer turns off, the computer turns off. Problem is that that's like a hard, harsh way to turn off a computer and can corrupt files and all sorts of stuff like that. So I need something safer. I learned that you can do some commands to basically turn off your computer. So I built a small little timer. It looks like a doomsday timer, and it will slowly tick down. And once it reaches 0, then it will shut off your computer, which means, and it'll do a safe shutdown, so it won't corrupt any files or anything like that. That one was a fun one. I still use that one regularly. I do turn it off still. I still stay up late. But other than that, there was one which has been my biggest project to date, which has been this thing I called it the speed reading pacer. So I'm like a big avid, big reader. And I needed a way, I learned about speed reading techniques and stuff like that. So what I really needed was a way to keep myself paced with what I wanted to read. So think of it like if you're running, you want to run at a certain speed to like get a 9-minute mile or whatever, right? So what I did is I built this program. You input some information like how many pages there are in the book, where the chapters are, and what it does is it keeps you in track. It's like, okay, you should be on page 10 right now. So how did I split between video production and programming? That one has been the most difficult thing, I would say, because so I started programming and doing video production when I was roughly around the same time. I started doing YouTube videos when I was 14, And then I started doing programming like earlier than that, but I never did any actual projects or was never super invested in it until about early high school. So YouTube was my main goal. My idea with YouTube was that if I work super hard, I was like watching all these videos like, okay, how do you succeed as YouTube, right? It's like, to me, YouTube was, how do I do what I want to do full time, which was play video games. So how do I play video games full time? Well, there's a few different things you could do. You could test video games, you could do this, you could make video games, you could do this, or you could do streaming, or you could do videos on YouTube. So it's like, okay, YouTube videos, how do I do that professionally eventually? Well, the one thing that people said is if you give it enough time, you make enough content, eventually you'll hit this point where everything explodes, right? That's kind of the idea of success. And I wasn't really programming super frequently during that time. I didn't start really programming until like high school time, like late high school. Because in my mind, I still wanted to do video. And that was still like my main thing. So how did I balance it? I didn't really balance it. I kind of let it get out of control. I burned out a few times, kept getting back into it though. Eventually during high school, between high school and I was working part-time and then doing videos on top of that. And then eventually at some point during high school, I did a podcast. Like that's just too much on your plate. I see myself mostly doing programming as like full-time job and then maybe video projects on the weekends or something like that. I just enjoy it as a hobby. But also I'm like, part of the reason I'm getting this video production associate's degree is not necessarily as a backup plan, but as something like, I used to do a lot of freelance work, which basically just means I take jobs here and there, like smaller gigs and stuff like that, for video production and for programming stuff, like helping out people on their websites, designing websites, that sort of thing. I could see myself being like, for example, wedding videos, right? That could be like a fun thing, take a day or two off on the week or the weekend and just like film somebody's like wedding video. That could be, I could see myself doing that. In addition to programming, I do see programming being more of a full-time thing.
All right, that's all.
Awesome. Sweet.
You talked a lot.
I did talk a lot.